This is Adjuster Stories, brought to you by Adjuster TV and Veteran Adjusting School. And now your host, Guy Grant.
Hey, dude. How are you?
Hey, good, doing well.
God, no doubt. It's good to see your face. I talked to you on the phone. I talked to you on the phone enough, but it's good to see your face.
Right? That's crazy.
So, hey, we're here with Paul today, who is a Voss Train graduate from February 2023. What kind of stories you want to tell me today, bud?
I guess we could just talk about the whole, like, I guess the package as far as the experience of getting into this industry, and then some of the crazy freaking stories that I have, and then some of the learning experiences. Won't do that again.
Welcome to being an adjuster, right?
Right. Yeah. Should have gone right when I should have, when I went left, it's like,
Right. I followed the insured when they said, come see this. And then I was like, oh, is there a roof on this house? I forgot that part.
Right. Like, oh crap, I got to exactly.
Totally.
I haven't even gone to the backyard yet.
Yeah, right. Oops, I missed those photos. Oops.
Right.
Hey, let's talk a little bit about your experience of how you got to Voss and how you got into adjusting and stuff. So let's start.
Yeah. I had a buddy of mine. This is probably like 6 years ago or something. I can't remember. It was probably around 2015, and I was totally different career path. I was more logistics, and I was talking to him one day, and he was telling me about insurance adjusting, and I was like, I don't even what is that? So it's just completely unknown. It's not really a widely known industry. It's not advertised. You understand? You can't get a college degree with it or anything like that. I mean, I don't nothing I'm aware of, but so it kind of, like, he was telling me a little bit about it, and it sounded interesting. And I started looking it up. I started, at the time, was, there's a lot of YouTube and obviously Google, and then Boss popped up, and I was like, what's this? Because there's, like, education wise, there's a lot of information out there, and I think Matt Allen had his Adjuster TV, so I got to watch some of that stuff, and he was kind of like still doing his new stuff. He was still doing tutorials of how to adjust, and it was really informative. But it wasn't like he was training. It wasn't like he was just talking about the career path. And so I was looking around, and Boss popped up, and I actually called at the office there in Arizona and in Sedona, and got some more information, and then I put it on park. I just, like, I had my other thing going on. I was making good money. I didn't want to. It's hard to make changes. Like, that was a big change. I've been 20 some years in logistics, and I knew that like the back of my hand. Comfortable, but something was, like, inside me was just basically saying, hey, I'm not satisfied. I'm not happy with what I'm doing. So the change was just like, I was too set in my ways, too comfortable. And fast forward, post COVID, I got to a point in my career, it's like, what, I can't do this anymore. Like, I just cannot do this anymore. So basically in June of 2022, I ventured off and I got my insurance license, my adjuster's license.
Florida, right?
Yeah.
Because you're in Florida.
Right. I went to a school in Tampa. It was like a 2-day, like, weekend kind of thing. They go through it, and just, I figured, well, hell, if I'm looking into this thing, I might as well, like, start the process. So, what better way to do it than just, like, get your license and see what this really all about. And people start taking you somewhat seriously because now you got a license. and then got my license, and then it was like, all right, so what's next, and then I was still looking at Voss at the time, but I wasn't sure, do I really want to go this route, or I want to, for me, I'm not, obviously I'm not a veteran, so it was, I was doing I, was- I was
22,000
having
cash pay.
I was having to pay the cash, so
Right.
it was it was a big step, and a lot of cash. So I was like, so I started looking around, and I remember, Matt Allen with Adjuster TV, and he started actually offering training. So it was like
Uh-huh.
it actually worked together. Like right after I got my license, I basically got I got involved in his fast track to deployment.
It was
So
one
what
of
it was
his
like,
first ones, wasn't it?
yeah, it was his first class. So I was
Wow.
like, we were like his guinea pigs.
Right.
And I mean, it was like an introductory. It was relatively inexpensive. I think he was doing it because he knew that he was still trying to get his curriculum and how he's going to do it. Because I think today, if you look like rewind the clock and compare it to what I went through, it's totally different. I think he's revamped it. He's
Yeah.
able to do these different certifications now with Xactimate and all that kind of stuff. So
Right.
that was not what we did. And I mean, he was very honest with it. He's like, I'm just gonna, like, if you guys get deployed, I'm gonna keep your head above water. And I was like, okay, sounds good. But he also had, his buy-in for me is he was basically, if there's a storm, I'm going to put you on 5 different rosters, with 5 different firms, and they promised me that they're going to give you a first, if your name, if they get down to that level of the roster, you're going to get picked first above everybody else, so, and that's what happened. I mean, it ended up, I got on with a firm, and I started working. My first hurricane was Ian. I handled 20, either 22 or 25 claims. It was probably the most scariest ass experience I went through.
Right. Here you are.
I
You're an
mean,
adjuster now.
right, yeah. I mean, literally my first claim, I get out, I'm on the roof, and I'm looking for my shingle gauge, and like I didn't bring my shingle
Shingle gauge.
gauge, So I call my wife. It was likely when they deployed me, I was only like 25 minutes from my house. So I
Right.
called my wife. I said, "Hey, can you bring me my shingle gauge?" Because I didn't want the insured to know that I forgot, some tools. And
Right.
anyway, that was just like, yeah. So she came, she brought it, and it was just from there. It was just
Well,
I constantly had my stomach was always in my throat. I think I was tasting just all 22 of them, man.
right. Right.
So
Yeah. It's interesting because Matt has a lot of good videos that show you how to climb a roof, how to do a roof, what you're
right,
looking for. But most of his stuff is about hail. Right. And so
right.
you're out there looking for wind going, well, what's a crease in a shingle look like?
Yeah, I really honestly and that you bring up a good point. From from that storm, I basically figured out how much I don't know and how much I need to know. Like how much more information is, like, in order for me to do this job correctly, I got to dig a little deeper. As far as, I can't just go and get one thing of training and expect that, I'm going to be able to do this job correctly. Because
Yeah.
there were
That's
so many things that I had done probably very poorly because I didn't know how to do it.
that's the
And then,
problem with our industry, right?
right,
These guys go your direction and they get a license and then they get a little bit of training or they ride along with their brother-in-law or they do
right.
something and then they get thrown out there. And let me ask you a question. Out of those 22 claims, how many got kicked back?
Oh, they probably all 22 claims.
They
Like
did actually kick them back.
yeah, I
Okay.
don't think I ever got I don't think I ever got one that actually got passed through. I always had something that was, I'd left out or missed, or there was a question from file review about fencing, or should we actually replace this, or you forgot this gutter, Paul. It's in your photo report, but you say nothing about and I thought I covered it all, but it's, for a first time adjuster to go out on a storm and you're drinking through a fire hose. There's so
Completely.
much information that you have to it's all about organization, right? It's
Yeah.
all about having your organization and being able, and then at the same time, you're learning things like it's like there's so much coming at you. So the basics of just writing something down and knowing where to write it, just so okay, that's going to be my note for when I'm writing the estimate,
Right.
and not just writing on a piece of paper. And then when you get home at night, it's like, where was that piece of paper or what, whatever it was. And so you don't have a system down.
Right.
You don't have that automatic. You already know where it's at. This is where it's at. This is where I put my notes. This is how this is my system. You don't have that. You haven't developed that yet.
Dude, when I first started, right, I would get back and I'd take my piece of paper and I'd be like reading it, turning it around like this at night, trying to figure out what my line items were. I'm like, oh.
Is this the front elevation or the back one? I mean, holy crap. Yeah. I mean, it was, I was the firm that I worked for, their carrier basically provided all roof sketches. That's automatic. They basically do all eagle views. So that saved my bacon in a lot of cases, as far as I didn't have to worry about sketching, the rooftops. Now, when there was interior stuff, that was a whole different ballpark for me. That was a lot different because the fast track, we didn't really get into a whole lot of sketch work at the time. It was just more or less just making boxes, and you can do that, whatever you call that, where you just can go and diagram a room that's basically square for ceiling stains, your basic stuff. And that kind of got me, that pretty much kind of got me where I needed to go. A lot of times it made me enough to be dangerous, where at least the insurer was getting some money back, was probably going to get, it definitely gonna be a reinspection, or will have to be a follow-up or something, or supplement, or, something like that.
But you were that new guy that fresh meat that they're like, just throw him out there, see what he does. If he doesn't close them, we'll take him and give him to somebody else later.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it was, exactly. It was, I remember I went to the war room a couple times. The first time I went there, I was shocked because, I'm sitting there just trying to, because there was one particular roof that they didn't give me a sketch for. And at the time I didn't have an account with Eagle View and all that kind of stuff. So it was just like, holy shit, and it was just a basic hip roof. So I kind of just tried it, and it had this hip roof pullout. So I was like, I don't know how to do this. This isn't looking right. So I went to the war room, and I'm in the war room. The guys are helping me out, and there's guys walking in, and I remember hearing, "What's Xactimate?" I was like, holy shit, dude.
Right.
I'm like, dude, oh my God, and what's a subscription? I'm like, oh my word, stuff like that. And it's just, I thought I was unprepared, they're walking in with brand new license. So it just tells you how, when big storms hit, the industry, the depth of it is just, there's not a whole lot of depth. I mean, dude, if you could breathe and you have a heartbeat or pulse,
that's it. Show up. Yeah. In 2017, when Irma was hitting, one of our partners called me up and was like, I need you to do a 3-day orientation. I'm like, no way I'm doing a 3-day orientation. Why not? I'm like, because basically all I can say is Right? So these poor people, I'm like, sorry. But I did it anyway. And mainly because they paid me too much money to say no. And I literally, the first day there were like 40 people in there. None of them knew what Xactimate was. None of them had their temporary license. And I knew after Irma, I'm like, oh, when whoever survives this is going to end up with 100 claims in their box.
Right.
So I literally spent 3 days just showing them how to make manila folders and get the 1 through 31 thing. I mean, 3 days. I had no Xactimate, nothing. I'm just like, you just need to get organized because this is going to go south really quick.
Right. Yeah. It was, and it does. It go like, if you're coming in like basically brand new, you're not, I mean, unless you have a mentor that you can call that kind of has an idea of what the hell to do, there's no way in hell that the war room is, especially today. It's just there's too many people are too busy. They're all, everybody's drinking through a freaking fire hose, and they just, they're gonna basically, okay, well, he's just gonna be, his claims are gonna be given out anyway, so we'll just give him enough to just like close a couple, give him some bucks, and then his 50 claims or whatever are probably gonna end up going to someone else that knows what the hell he's doing.
He'll do 5. He'll inspect 20. He'll do 3. Right. We'll give him enough money to go home, and we'll reassign all of his claims.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. And that, so I was a minnow when it came to basically when I started, Ian.
All right.
Now I'm a shark. I'm the guy that wants those. I'm in competition with all the rest of the adjusters. My idea now is I want your claims.
Right.
So I'm going to gobble as much as I can, as fast as I can to get your claims.
Unfortunately, that's a fact.
Right. Like
that's the fact.
It's just that's definitely, it's contrasted, a complete, hell, it's what, December? So a year.
Yeah.
To almost, a year.
That's what people don't really, they don't understand when they get in the business, that when you do that first storm, just be happy if you make enough money to break even, because you're not making 100 grand.
Right.
And if you hang in there and you're that guy that just kept saying yes, and when they call you, you say, I'm not sure how to do that, but how do I fix it? And you they know that you actually hung in there. Because when they call you and say, I gave you 20 and I'm taking 15, it's like either you put your tail between your legs, or you step up to the plate and say, look, let me keep going.
Right. I was fortunate enough on my first, I think I did well enough where, I wasn't by any stretch of the man. I wasn't fast. I mean, I wasn't, obviously I was attempting to at least do, I think it was like 2 to 3 claims a day. I mean, 3 was a lot for me. Like I was just like, but I think 2 was like enough for me to be like, I'd go to bed probably, 1, 2 o'clock in the morning, at least, But, so I was fortunate enough, and they actually, they gave me a couple more claims, so that actually kind of said, well, I'm not doing a bad job.
I'm still here.
Right. But yeah, that was, to me, that was like a sign. It's like, you know what, I'm not an absolute idiot. So, and I've got the desire and, just basically the ability to grind this out.
Right.
That, if I can see myself in the future, if I get what I need to get going, as far as the right training and the right systems and understanding the, building materials and stuff like that, that I could probably really like make a stab at this thing and really, get going. So,
well, and I think that was a lot of the reason that you got into the school after you talked to Cheryl, after 100%. You had done that, right? Because you were like, look, I know what I don't know, but I need to know more. And we're like,
Right.
okay, well, just send us your $22,000 and we'll
Right.
make you an adjuster.
Right. It was.
And he
Yeah.
did it. That was the commitment, right?
Right. Right. Yeah. I called, I talked to Matt. I was like, Matt, I said, this is what I'm thinking because I'd already graduated from his fast track, and I called Matt up and I said, Matt, I'm really thinking about going to Boss. What do you think? And he said, Paul, if you go to Boss, he said, you're going to get like, your training's going to be so much more in depth, and you're going to be able to, you're going to jump ahead as far as like, you're not going to have the learning curve that most adjusters have just, going to like, a week long class in Texas or whatever they have. You're gonna be able to really apply this and really get going. And that, I mean, that was my biggest thing. I mean, I didn't have anything else to fall back on. I basically, I did a Geronimo right off the damn cliff.
Right.
It's like I'm all in. And
Right.
it was scary as hell, but at the same time, it's like you either gonna fly, boy, or you're gonna hit you're gonna hit rock bottom.
Exactly.
And I got a family on the back end. I was at the time was the breadwinner. And
Right.
so we were all just kind of like, this is it, dude. This, like, I was betting, if you're playing roulette or whatever, I'm betting all black here.
Spin the wheel.
Come
Let's make this happen.
Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, and I think when I got the call from Cheryl and I was accepted, I was just like, it was like it was both relief and also like,
Fear.
yeah, like, dude, I'm in this career, like I've just invested, especially when you write the check and you send it off. It's like, okay,
right.
All right, and then you get there and it's like it's all in.
Dude, that's the beauty of what we did with the Voss Train program was when the first day I met you, when you sat in that chair, I knew you were committed.
Oh,
right?
Oh yeah.
You're all in.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Just like you said, you just took the money you made from a storm and put it into us.
Right.
And said, okay, I'm here. I loved, I swear, dude, all 46 times. I loved looking at you guys at the very beginning and just going, I know you're scared. You just gave me a bunch of money and you're really hoping that we're not full of it.
Dude,
right?
Yeah, I mean, it's just, I mean, I'm like, man, this better be everything that, I need it to be, because I've got all my chips, I'm all in. So it's like, I need this to be where I need to, so I can get out there and start doing a good job and stuff. So yeah, I mean, that first 2 weeks of just Xactimate training, man, I tell you what, that was just, oh my God.
Right?
Yeah.
And you're like, gee, all the interiors, I just took 4 square rooms and set them on a board and tried to make it work. They all said room 1, room 2, room 3. What am I going to do?
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, that was probably the most nerve-wracking, was just going through that whole, like, the first 2 weeks and just like trying to I'm like, man, this is just a program, this is 2 weeks of just working in Xactimate only, and then but after that, once obviously we took the test and we all passed, and
right.
We got that behind. It's like, it's like, okay, now we're going to get into like, the adjusting. And that's when it got, all the questions that I had about, the shingles or continuous flooring or, like, the ceilings, what do you do? That kind of stuff, like,
right.
Stairs and things like that, where you're just like, oh, some
right.
of the, cause it's not, insurance doesn't, they'll give you this, like, basically this profile. It says, this is what we consider yada, yada. But it's like, dude, it never works out in the real world. You always have that house that's in interior. It's got curved walls or something, you're like, what, what I mean? Is this a break or is this not a break?
Right.
And
Yeah.
So, you're it, and so it's just, yeah, I mean, the training gave you kind of the grounding, to kind of give you like a better idea of kind of this is what the overall established requirements are,
Right.
And if and when in doubt, I just always fall back to that. Like, okay, all right. So if they don't like it, they'll kick it back. Who cares? I tried.
Right. Right.
So,
But at least you have a process.
right.
Right. And that was the whole thing. It was funny because, Scott was in our very first class. And then he was an instructor for 7 years, right?
Right.
So, but it was so fun to use him because just like you said, when we did our first class, we didn't have curriculum down. We didn't have a process down. We just knew we were trying to make adjusters. And because we were adjusters, we weren't,
Right.
I'm not an educator. And it took time for us to figure out the VOS process to be able to train it to you guys. And there's no way we could teach you all of that stuff about contiguous flooring and stairs and all the rest of that without going through 8 days of Xactimate.
Well, no,
We had to get you to that before we could even take you on to that next process. And that was years,
Well, and the program, whether it's stability or if it's Xactimate or some other, you got to think when you're looking at a room or you're looking at a house, you got to think, how does this system or program want to see it?
Uh-huh.
So you got to if you're just doing carpet in one room, it's basically a bedroom and it's got a closet that doesn't have carpet, you got to know, I can't put these two rooms together. It's going to carpet the damn, so you got to understand how the program works and what measurements you really do need and how you need them.
Right.
Or, and in some cases, if you've never done something, like if you have to freaking do a pool, I had to do in Tulsa, Oklahoma. This lady's freaking, dude, this giant oak tree just smashed this snot out of her freaking gunite pool. Okay. I'd never done a pool before. I was like, what the hell? You know what? But I knew it's like, square footage is never gonna, it basically always
right.
They always ask for square footage in Xactimate, so it's like I was getting damn square footage, so I'm here measuring all this out.
You make an oval room that's
Right.
6 feet deep instead of 8 feet deep or whatever the hell it is, and you're close.
Yeah. And so it was like, that knowing how the program works helps you basically adjust better. Where and where you like your defaults and stuff like that, where it'd be like, all right, well, I know it's gonna probably either gonna be linear foot or it's gonna be square footage or whatever, and I just need to get that, and I'll be good. I could probably do enough damage there to be able to get at least something in there
and get close,
right?
Because our estimates are never going to be what a contractor's going to want.
No.
But if we can get close and identify those things, that makes the world a difference for sure.
Right. I think it's it's the boss, that immediately prepared me and propelled me into this career that I'm sitting here now talking to you about, which I absolutely I think I get on roofs sometimes, Guy, and I'm just like, I'm up there, I still tape. A lot of guys, they don't do it anymore, but I still tape my roofs.
Right.
If I have the time to do it, I'm freaking going to do it. Call me cheap. I enjoy doing it. I like the challenge of being able to I keep that skill set up or whatever. And, but I'm sitting there, I'll be up there, man, dude, I love this. This is so much fun, and
it's cool when you're standing up there and you're looking out over the neighborhoods and everything, and you're seeing blue tarps and you're seeing all this stuff after.
Right.
I still love that too.
Right. And it's just, there's no one bugging you. Most of the time I don't have a roofer or a PA with me or a lawyer, it's, I'm just up there by myself, just doing my thing, and I don't have to talk to whatever, and or worry about what's going to happen next. I know what I'm doing. I got my system, and
and you follow it every time. Right. So it doesn't matter what roof you're on, you're doing the same thing on every roof at that point.
Right. There's not too many, there's not too many roofs right now that will, I guess, surprise me anymore, because I've been on probably about every type of roof and pitch of roof, and
I did.
Just seen them all,
And I think that's one of the things too with the industry today, is because, like you said, the company you work for gave you an eagle view on everything, right? Well, back in my day, dude, there was no eagle view. In fact, when I first started, there wasn't even any Xactimate sketch. But then once sketch came out, and literally it was a brand new storm, brand new learning curve. We show up and they say, okay, now you're going to sketch every roof.
Right.
And even the serious adjusters were like, what the hell's a sketch? Oh, well, that came out 3 months ago. Well, what am I supposed to do with it? Right? Totally. And Xactimate sketch wasn't as good as it is today, even.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Right.
But once you understand and you get up on that roof, whether you have an eagle view or you're taping it, right? You can look at it and go, okay, I see how this roof goes together. I can see how everything works. I can see why this component is where it is. Oh, there's a pipe jack coming out. Well, I got to have a bathroom or a kitchen underneath that.
There's something underneath there. Right.
There's plumbing coming up through the roof. Right. I know what that is.
Right.
And it's just a matter of doing it. And I think it's a shame in our industry that people get licenses and then they turn around and they say, okay, now I'm an adjuster, when they don't have the knowledge of Xactimate, and they don't have a process of where to start, and they don't do all of those kind of things. I mean, it's kind of the bummer of us closing down the school, except I'm an old guy, right? And so I'm done. And aside from Scott and Matt and a couple of the other people that we've had as instructors, nobody's going to put the heart and the soul that we put into each of you guys,
right.
Which is another thing, for this other project that we're getting ready to do next year. The difference was you and I became friends in 6 weeks.
Right.
And you became friends with all the other 9 people that were in your class with you, or 8 people that were in the class with you. So we had time for that muscle memory to kick in, and we had time to look at your face when you were freaking out on trying to do a staircase, or why isn't this fitting, or all the rest of the things, to be able to walk you guys through, because we were there to be able to hold your hand. And still to this day, there's nothing else out there, but it is what it is.
It's a shame. And I think the learning curve, if you didn't go to Voss, I think the learning curve is just going to be so much more traumatic. I think there are some people out there that probably can really, jump on the bandwagon pretty quick, and maybe they have a construction background, roofing background, things like that. That will definitely help them. But when it comes to Xactimate or Symbility or whatever, you're going to be on the ground floor. Still you have to go get you're going to find someone that help you teach it, and then to some degree you're not going to get the hands-on. You're going to get online, which that's probably what's going to end up happening.
Sure.
But you're the boss. It was hands-on. It's like because Xactimate doesn't all the programs, they don't always act perfect. There's always a glitch. And it's like if you're doing something, it's like it's glitching out. And then we had the ability. Hey, Scott. Matt, come here. Got it. What the hell is this?
Why did it do that?
Where did it go? And it's just like, oh, just take the bad bug. Oh, God. And it's like, I lose it all, and stuff like that. So,
Well, I'm gonna say one other thing to anybody that's listening out there. If somebody goes out and they went and did Helene and what was the other one? Milton this year. And they got their 20 claims and they think they want to do this job. Then starting right now, they should be paying the money for a full subscription to Xactimate, get the Xactimate book, go through that 260 pages, one page at a time, and then start sketching your mom's house, your friend's house, everybody you know, because, and this was for me because I was only a storm chaser for the first part of my career, right? I would get done in November, be a big hurricane season. I'd be really tired, but I had a huge bank of money in my bank. And then sometimes I didn't go back to work again until June or July. Well, every freaking year was a whole nother learning curve. Just like I was talking about at Sketch. It was a whole nother learning curve because I didn't pay attention in between.
Right.
Until about the fourth year. After the third year, I was like, nah, I better figure this shit out. I went because I was afraid of steep roofs. I went out here on the Red Rocks with my pitch gauge, and I would go on a big, long rock, and I'd set it up and I'd say, this is an 812. And I'd walk up and down that thing for 15, 20 minutes.
So you just got the jitterbugs out of you?
Well, and I could feel where my ankles, right? So when you're standing, and you know this now, right? A 412 pitch roof, you're walking on it, you step on an 812 and your ankles move. And correct me if I'm wrong, you can probably step on a roof without a pitch gauge and tell me what pitch that is, or at least be close.
I can get close. In fact, I had the one the other day that, it's funny you say that because I was thinking, because I remember you saying that in class, like you were like, I could get on a roof and tell you what pitch is. I mean, because you've got the experience, and I was like, man, that'd be pretty cool. But I was actually on a roof the other day, and it was like a hip roof, and it had this weird like pull out off the hip that was a hip, and I was like, you know what? It had kind of an elongated, the right side was like elongated more than the left, but it was all blended together. And I was like, what's going on there? But as soon as I stepped over the ridge cap and got onto basically that side, I noticed it was like, dude, this is a 412 right here. This side, this little slope, this one slope on this side of the hip is a 4, and everything else was like, I think it was 6. There was 2 different degrees of pitch, and that's what was making it do what it was doing, because I was like, man, how is that? Because when you Xactimate, all your angles, if you got all your same pitches, all your angles are gonna be the same. They're all gonna look very uniform.
Yep.
And I could tell that the way that this valley was going, it was stretching out longer than it should be. And I was like, so I threw my pitch on it because I was like, this is different. I need to know what this is in order to do this right. And sure enough, it was 2 degrees difference on the rest of the roof. And you're right. It's the 412 to the 612, or when you start getting to 8 and 9s, you know what the hell that is.
Where's my cougar paws? Where's my cougar paws?
Yeah, like about 8, it's like it's time for the cougars to come out, especially if it's you don't have a lot of granulars on it. If it's got a lot of granular loss, it's an ice skate. Oh well, you could basically wear cougar paws at that point, and you're still going to be in danger.
Yeah, exactly. So let's talk a little bit about. So you graduated in February,
right? February 23, is that right? Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah. My birthday. Oh, right. Yeah.
Right. In fact, I had my birthday when I was there.
Right? Exactly. How long did it take you to get a claim?
I think it was like I got back, but it was about the first or second week of February. I think in March. Got it. Yeah, you had one of your vendors reach out to you, and they needed some adjusters in Tennessee.
Oh, right.
And they called you up saying, "Hey, we need anybody that's available." And you basically sent out an email. And as soon as I got that email, I called the firm, and talked to I think he was a CEO or CFO. He's one of the
Right.
owners. And I was like, I'm interested. And he's like, all right, give me a second. And then like literally like 2 hours later, I had like 20 claims in my queue or something like that. And I was like, I guess I'm going to Tennessee, babe. You know? So
I'm packing my bag, honey.
Threw all my shit. Yeah, threw all my shit in a, container, and I took off, and I got a call from one of the guy, Lucas. He's like, "Are you going to the storm?" I was like, "Dude, I'm already on the road, bro." And he's like, "All right, well, I'm gonna call this guy," and so he calls him, and we end up staying in this Airbnb. He's got one room, I got another, and that was
Yeah.
hilarious.
Yeah, I remember that because after that, it was like that Kentucky tornado and everything that went
It
through
was like
Kentucky and Tennessee.
what do you call those
Derecho.
Yeah, it was one of those things. It was bad. It was like there was some real damage in Tennessee.
Well, he's basically a Texas IA firm. That's where they have most of their work.
Right.
And he called up and was like, "Guy, yesterday I only had 100 claims in the whole country, and today I got 3,000. I need help." I'm like, "Okay, well, we'll see."
Nice.
Yeah. You guys kicked ass out there too, because I remember him calling. I think 14 of you went. And most of you were from that. You had just graduated.
Right.
But I know Lucas, he really, really likes Lucas, still uses him.
Yeah, he
do
does
anything he can for him. Yeah.
He ran out with I keep up with me and Lucas we're probably talking to each other weekly. But he ran Texas here this year twice for him.
Right.
He made a killing.
Just show up and do your job. Right. And follow the process. That's the one thing that he was telling me. He was like, "Look, guy, I know I got brand new guys. I know you're sending me brand new guys, but at least I know they're going to turn in a photo report. I'll be able to figure it out from there. They're all going to turn in something that looks the same. It might not be right, but I can work with it if it looks the same."
Right. Yeah. That was, and it's funny, me and Lucas still talk about it. It's like, dude, we could have, if we could just go back in time and know what we know now, we could have wreaked havoc on that storm.
Totally.
It just like we were like, dude, I got to do 3 or 4 claims today, freaking out, But I remember we'd call you for help sometimes. And you're like, I think you'd be on the phone with him. He's like, "Go get Paul. We're gonna go and get this all out of the way right now." So he'd walk across the hall, and we'd be talking.
Right, you're both gonna have the same questions.
Right, he's gonna have that problem sooner or later. So let's get the questions out of the way. And so, but that was awesome. And then while I was on the storm, I was getting ready to. I was winding down. I get a call from one of the Mason guys that basically he's like, I need some help out in California, and I was like, California, like all damn plate, really, California? And I mean, I did not. I knew I had to probably work cats to get into dailies.
Right.
So I was like, you know what? Let's just get this out of the way. Let's just pull the Band-Aid off and let's just go. So I told him, I said, listen, let me call you back. I'm gonna just tell my wife, because I'm not driving back to Florida to go back to California.
Right.
I'm just gonna leave. I got my stuff with me now. I've got all my cold gear and all that, because it was cold there in Tennessee. I'm just gonna go to California from here. And so I called her and I said, "This is what I'm gonna do." She's like, "Okay." So I went off to California and I did that for like 2 months.
Right. And you started running dailies out there too. You were doing storm and dailies, right?
I started doing dailies out there, and that was a that was a totally different, like, that. I went from basically just rooftops to some, interior, to just everything you can think of. And
Yeah.
it was scary. Like, there was times it's like, man, I have really bit off a lot here. Like I mean, because California, it's not unheard of to have multi-million-dollar homes, but some of these homes they were gigantic,
Right.
and like with just some serious interior damages, interiors I've never seen before, things like that were just, and the navigation of all that. But I kept my head above water for the most part, and I did it only for the experience. That
Yeah.
was I just wanted to just, like, let's get as much as I can behind me. That way, when I go back to Florida, at least I have a better idea, and I got everything I learned from Boss in my head.
Yeah.
Like, it's not just, let me rephrase that. It's not just in my head. It's basically, it's autonomous for me.
Yeah.
It's like it's just a reaction now. That's where I wanted it to be, where I don't have to think about it, because I want to be able to think about other things.
Yeah.
Like, be able to be 3 or 4 steps ahead, but you're just thinking about, what kind of window is that, or stuff like
Mhm.
that. That's a distraction. So
Yeah. Well, now you can walk up to $1 million house and it's no different than $100,000 house. They're all the
does
same.
it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It
Yeah.
really, yeah, you start everything, yeah, you start seeing everything about the same, where, I think I was actually in a house the other day where it's like, man, I've sketched this before, and you start remembering, the houses, because, it's a builder plan. I
Yeah.
mean, most houses have, and I was like, man, I should say these things, but I was like, what would I name it? How would I even know? Like, it's almost impossible to do that.
I have 300 templates in here. Which one is which?
I don't know how I'd even decipher that. So it's like, it's a good thought, but yeah, you just realize, it's just okay. Well, I've seen this before. And where to see the problems. Where, like, if a sketch is going to be funky or not. And
Right.
especially, I can walk in a room now and pretty much, like, pretty basic, or it's going to be like, this one's going to be a little bit funky. It's got the open-ended staircases,
Is.
and it's just like, oh,
Yeah.
and so, and that's where you wish you had that, like, what is that thing called? The where they basically take pictures of the whole room and it sketches it for you.
That was like there was a
That's just
thing that came out called uh Mad something or
yeah,
another.
Matterport.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what. Yeah, the DocuSketch. I think
Here's
it's
another
another
one.
one.
Yeah. Well,
But
now they've got, I guess, with the Leicas, they've got like LiDAR or something like that where you can walk in. And I guess Hover is now doing interiors or something like that.
it doesn't
Right. But
surprise me.
there's so much technology out there now that, again, if you're not working in between storms, figure out the freaking technology, because the next time you go out, it's going to make it so much different for you.
Right.
Right.
Right. And yeah, that's you bring up a good point, because when I got back from California, I was still doing, pencil and the scratch pad, sketch,
Right.
and I realized, especially on the bigger sketches, it's like, you can't read your numbers very well, and, things start, you didn't get this angle right, or whatever it is, and you're spending an extra hour, maybe 2 hours, trying to decipher your sketch and put in an Xactimate and make it look like it's similar. And it was like, man, this is taking way too much time, and I got to figure out a different way of doing this. Like this, there's got to be something out there that I can do that's going to make this a lot faster, just and still have the accuracy and be able to give you the efficiency. Because that's the other thing too. Like, you can be like fast and furious, but if you don't have the accuracy and efficiency with it, it's just not going to be, you're going to turn in a product that, the carrier is going to like, oh, he's a great adjuster, but the I firms can only use you probably when, like when you get down to the middle of the roster,
Right.
and I think that's, you got to bring in a quality product, that's the big thing. It's like, if you got a quality product that they follow, they know that, hey, well, he's at least 95% in the, in the green here, we've got a good thing where we can follow back behind and say, okay, this is about what it's going to cost, give or take. Then, they're going to ask you to do different things. So, like, they're going to do, my whole goal was to be, I want to go on the dailies. That's where I wanted to get. And so, that's when I actually started when the carrier, the desk adjusters in California, I started talking to them a lot, and I was asking them what they're using, because I had heard that they were using some different technology, and they'd done the Xactimate Mobile or the Pro, and then they were also field testing something else. I can't remember what it was. And I was like, oh, so they're even trying it. So I went out, so I came back, and I still, I didn't do anything different. I didn't have time to really I was still trying to get my process in, it's like I was still, everything was still gelling for me, and just kind of like understanding how Xactimate works still, and how you can break it so fast, and, and things like that. So I wasn't really taking a lot of time as far as the technology side. And then I think, in January of this year, I went to, Nevada for the adjuster. What's that thing called?
NACA.
Yeah. To NACA. And they allow you to sign up for the courses and stuff. And I was like, well, this is a great time to learn about the technology, because they got all this stuff. They got a bunch of vendors and stuff like that. I was like, I'm gonna just delude myself and everything I can as far as technology. And I had actually, Matt Allen was there. I talked to him about it, and I was like, what about this Matterport? And there was, the pros and cons to all that stuff,
Right.
and he was like, he said, the Xactimate Mobile is really, he said they've really improved on that and stuff like that. So, and I started looking at that, and it was like, the buy-in for that's just, it's not as much. And it's kind of like, kind of in my, kind of what I want to do. I don't want to like scan the whole freaking house, and then pay for a sketch that's going to be another $30 to $40, depending on how much data it is and all that kind of stuff. So anyways, I got that, and off I went. And then, based on like, I was like, I wonder, that's when it just like the wheels started turning as far as my photo report. And, I was like, I wonder how that's going to look. And dude, that was a game changer. Like, I was like, dude, this is the way to do it. Like, and I called Lucas up. I said, dude, you got to get into it. He's like, no. I said, I'm telling you, man, you're going to freaking love it. Like, it makes everything so much easier, especially your photo report. If anything, it makes your photo report so much easier.
Yeah.
He's like, no. So anyways, he finally, he gets it. He calls me up. He's like, dude, yeah, this is awesome. Like, I said, I told you. This thing is bringing the bomb, man. Like,
when they first came out with that, it's probably like maybe 2017 or something like that.
Right.
So we went and we spent $800 on a tablet, and I paid the extra money for it.
Right.
And that freaking thing glitched like every freaking stroke. And I'm like, forget it. Done. Hit the story. And that's why, at the school, we always told you guys, we're doing old school first. If you can figure out old school, technology becomes simpler. If you go to technology and you have to go back to old school, you don't even know what old school is.
Right. Right. You got to have something to fall back on, because if Matterport quits working, or if IA decides to take, lunch break, or whatever, or yeah, AI, sorry.
Yeah.
You're going to be SOL, and you can't like call your firm up and say, well, I'm waiting for the sketch to come back to me. They don't want to hear that. They want to know that you're getting it in 24 hours period,
Right.
regardless, and it's going to be an accurate sketch. So I guess you're going to get your butt out there, and you're going to start, you're going to have to put a measure to it and start doing it the old school way. I got to plug in just a second.
Go ahead. Yeah, it's and like anything with Xactimate, right? So when we went from 25 to 26 and to 27 and to 28 and 28 1 and 3, right, until it even all the way up to X1, every time they came out with the new, it was freaking months of glitches. Now, Xactimate now, they put out fixes and patches like weekly, which they never used to do that. It was like, okay, once a month we're going to put out a new patch. So you cobbled along to get somewhere, and then all of a sudden a new patch came in, and you're like, well, why does it work like that? It was just continuous. But and for me, given my age and all the rest of that, I'm like, yeah, if I was still in the field, I'd be an Xactimate pro, but I'm not in the field, so I ain't going.
Right. But yeah, Guy, your perfect point. It's like you really got to learn the fundamentals of how to take a sketch, or take that and put it into Xactimate or Symbol, whatever it is, and then expand off of that. If you're trying to if you're trying to run before you can crawl, you're not going to understand the process, and I think your learning curve is just going to be so much more, because you're missing like 4 or 5 steps that you probably inherently just to understand how it works.
Right. So yeah, I know in my past I always tried to go from A to F. And without going to B, C, D, and E, so something's always glitching on F. How come it doesn't work right? I don't know.
Yeah, and you walk out with a bunch of scars and bruises and stuff.
Exactly.
Oh man,
exactly.
I should have just done B first.
Exactly.
Because I went too fast. And
Yep. But, I got to tell you a story about you, right? So I remember in California, you calling me up every day, every third day or anything. And most of the stuff, Paul, and I'll never forget this, most of the stuff with you was like, okay, dude, just take a breath, breathe. It's going to be okay. Go this way, do that. But it was all really simple. It wasn't like I was trying to tell you what to do. It was just calming your brain down enough. And you'd be like, got it. Okay, good. And then I wouldn't hear from you for 4 or 5 days. And you'd be like, I got this huge roof. Oh my God, what am I going to do? And I'm like, okay, just stop, take a breath, follow the process. It's all going to be the same. Just breathe. It's all going to be the same.
Right.
But you
remember, dude, vividly, Guy, I remember calling you up. I got on this. It was in California, and I thought it was just a tile roof, and I get to the eave, and I'm looking at it. I'm like, this doesn't look like. I mean, granted, I'd only been on like 1 or 2 tile roofs. That was yours being one of them, and I was like, this looks kind of funky. Like, so I'm sitting there touching it, and I'm like, man, this feels like like metal with a granular tile.
Right.
And I was like, what in the is this? And I was like, all right, well, and this was bad though, because this guy, the neighbor's tree had fallen into my insured's fireplace, and it basically took the fireplace and toppled the fireplace over onto his roof. So, I mean, it from the road, it didn't look like a lot of damage. It didn't look like any damage.
Right.
But when I started getting up there, it was like, man, there's some stuff going on. So I remember calling you going, what in the hell is this stuff? Like, I have never seen this. Like, and you were like, send me a photograph, and I was just, of course my wheels are just like flying off. Like, how do you know it's damaged? Like,
Right.
I'm just like, oh my God, I got one shot at this. So, anyways, common sense. I just started like looking at it going, okay, so if it's dented, you probably can't like I mean, it's got the granular coating on it and stuff,
Yeah.
but it's damaged, So I just started documenting everything that I thought that looked like it was damaged. And about that time I got done with the adjustment, I mean, I think you called me up and you basically you send me a picture of the item category number of what it was, and I was like, so it was like a metal granular tile,
Yeah. I forget what they call it. RFG something.
Yeah.
Something.
And I was like, okay. So I get back to the hotel, and I'm sitting there looking it up, and I was like, dude, it was like, $70 a square foot or something. I mean, it was just something freaking enormous, and it ended up being like it wasn't a real big roof, but it was like, $60,000 or $70,000 roof, that I got to buy. And I was like, man, this is awesome, but I was freaking out about like, man, what the hell is this crap?
Right. Remember when we had you guys up on the rodeo roof that first time? I'm like, if it get up here and it looks weird, take a picture with your phone and text it to us.
Right.
Scott or I. And by the time you get off the roof, we'll tell you what the hell it is.
Right. And that was I think in California, it was a shake roof. That's where I had my first experience. I remember calling you out about that. I was like, I was freaking out. I was like, I don't want to get on this. I don't want to break it. You're like, oh, it's okay. You can get on. Like, well, you told it. No, you can get on it. I was like, you can get on it. All right.
That podcast actually took over 2 hours. Paul and I just kept on talking and talking and talking. So I'm going to say thank you to Paul for what he did. There'll be another one that I'll come out with the other 45 minutes or hour or so of our conversation, but I didn't want to take up too much of everybody's time today. So I just want to thank you very much for listening to us, and be looking for more of these as they come out. And I'll let you know when Paul's comes back out again. Have a great day. Thank you.
Check out more Adjuster Stories with Guy Grand right here.